Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar on how to manage your team with Microsoft Teams. I'm Megan, I'm an account manager here at ClerksWell, and joining me is Sarah Blackburn, who's one of our digital consultants.
Hello everybody.
Hi. I'm just very quickly going to introduce the company, and then I'll hand you over to Sarah, who's going to explain how Teams works. So ClerksWell is a digital agency. We do quite a lot of things. Obviously we work a lot with Office 365, but we also build intranets and websites. And the reason we're putting on this webinar is that we love Office 365. We think it's a really great set of tools, and Microsoft are really good at building the technology, but they're not very good at showing people how to use it. And so that's a big part of what we do for our clients. We show them how the tools can work for them. And hopefully by the end of this session, you will know a little bit more about Teams, and Sarah will have shown you how it can work for you. And without further ado, over to you, Sarah.
Great, thank you. Here we go. So just a rundown of what we're going to do. So Megan has introduced us to who we are at ClerksWell. I'm going to do a very quick overview of Office 365, just a minute or so, and then where Teams fits into that. And then the bulk of the webinar is going to be a demonstration of how you can use Teams to manage a project. So don't worry, there's not going to be too much PowerPoint in this. And then we're going to wrap up with some pros and cons of Microsoft Teams at the end of the session. Okay, so what is Office 365? So for those of you that are new, or you may be just exploring it, or you might be using a small part of Office 365, but you're not really there with figuring out all of it, we find this diagram here really, really helpful. It's produced by a third party. It's not a Microsoft thing. It's produced by a guy called Matt Wade, who works for an organization called AtBot. They produce bots, but he's an amazing communicator. He often speaks at SharePoint conferences and things like that. And this is an interactive periodic table. So you can click on each of these links and it tells you in kind of layman's terms, what is this app? So it's not kind of Microsoft speak about the great things within the app. It does it in very, very plain English. It compares it to where you might have a similar app out in the non-Microsoft world, and so you can really relate to something that you might already be using, and how that all kind of fits together. So we use this when we're working with clients to help them to figure out which bits of Office 365 are going to be helpful to them, because there's quite a lot of overlap. I mean, you can use planner and tasks and to do the same sort of things, and project online. All those four things can be used to do task management, and it really depends on the scale of what you're trying to do. So if you're managing a huge project with hundreds of resources, then project online is going to be absolutely the way to go. But if you're just managing a smallish team, maybe 10 people, then planner can be a fantastic way of doing that. So this is what we really find helpful, to be able to go into our clients and figure out which bits of Office 365 are going to be the most suitable for them. So today we're going to focus on Microsoft Teams. So it's relatively new. It's only been there for a couple of years, and it's a real collaboration hub. For those of you that have used Slack, it is the Microsoft equivalent for Slack. It's a place for you to work. So it has everything. It has chat, it has document management, it has integration with other systems. And as we go through the demonstration, hopefully you really see how it all fits together. So teams are divided up into, so the whole Microsoft Teams, each part that you're involved in is its own separate team, and then each team divides up into different channels, and each channel can be divided up into tabs. And as you see it all fit together, hopefully that will start to make sense. Teams is the replacement for Skype for Business. So for those of you that are using Skype for Business at the moment, it will be migrated into Teams eventually. So Skype for Business is definitely kind of on the out with Microsoft. So it has all of those features that Skype for Business have. So meeting management, calendar, chat, all of that happens within Teams now. And that's very much where Microsoft are going to be focusing their energy in creating new stuff. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the demonstration now. and hopefully we'll start to figure out what's going on. Let's just get everything ready in the right place. Okay, so you might start off from your intranet page, and your part of your organisation has got that loaded, or you might be in your mailbox, and you might come into your waffle or your app launcher and find the application there. So here it's in my shortlist in here, or I might have to go down into my all apps, or I might have to go to the Office portal page in order to find it. So any of those different ways, and that sort of, it's really personal preference which route you come into Teams. Okay, so scroll down to the bottom for Teams, and this is going to open up the Teams application in my web browser. So there's 3 different ways of managing Teams. You can either come in using the browser, and it's fairly fully featured within the web browser. Most of Teams works pretty well in this, but there are a couple of subtle differences where the browser technology can't run all that the desktop and the mobile application can do. Okay, so your second way in is using the desktop app, which we'll look at in a moment. And just to quickly show you around from here, we've got a list of links over here on the left-hand side. We've got a navigation thing in the middle left here, and then over on the right-hand side, I've kind of got my main working area. So I'm going to switch now into the desktop application. So down here at the bottom of my start bar, I can switch into the desktop app. So when you start up Teams from the web browser, it will prompt you to go and find the desktop app as well. So you can see, hopefully that looked like I didn't really change what I was doing at all. So if I just go back, here's the browser, and here is the desktop application. There is also the mobile application, which I will just quickly show you some screen grabs of that now. Okay, so this is the mobile application. It's got all of the same features. So that left-hand navigation down at the bottom I've got here, and all of those different things that I've got in the other 2 apps, the browser or the desktop app. Okay, so starting on the left-hand side, I've got the activity feed, and this tells me everything that's kind of happened around me. So if someone has posted something and done an @Sarah, then that will appear here in my feed. If someone shared a document with me, if someone's added me into a new team or anything like that, that will all appear in my feed, and that's all my notifications. And I can set that up whether I have those. They can come into my inbox as well as coming here into my activity feed, or they can come into my Office 365 notifications. So it's up to you to kind of set up what's going to work in the best way for you. The chat application, so again, this is this functionality that's there in Skype for Business, but it's all here within Teams now. And so I can have a chat with someone, I can start an audio or a video call, I can share my desktop here within Teams with either a single person, or I can add in multiple people and do a share. So for that kind of impromptu chat, dragging people in, you can do that from within the chat functionality. I'll show you a little bit later the meetings functionality, where you might have a more formalized, we're going to meet at this particular time. Everybody's going to gather within Teams to do that. Okay, the third option down is the list of all of the teams that I'm a member of. So up here at the top, I've got an all staff, and we find this works quite well for our smaller organisations. There is a limitation with a team that you can't have more than 1,000 people included in a team. So if your organisation is smaller than that, then having an all staff where you can kind of put out corporate easy messages, you maybe have your links into your SharePoint that have got your HR policies, and that sort of information is kind of all stored there within the team. So it's kind of deep diving and linking into where you might already have information at the moment. And it's also a great place to have your team rules, because we do recommend that you have some rules around your teams and that you do some onboarding to help people to figure out what's going on. And I'll talk about some of these features as we go through, but having this sort of infographic that kind of tells people quite quickly and easily and in a visual way helps people to remember the rules, because working in teams is a little bit different to using something like Outlook, and people just need to get accustomed to the new rules. Imagine it's a little bit like your teenage child has just invited you to come into WhatsApp, and you suddenly start sharing loads of stuff and sharing photos of them as children and things like that, and they're like, "Mum, really, that's not appropriate. That's not what we do here in this group chat." So make sure you know the rules and you understand why you would do things in one way or another. Okay, so here in the meetings tab, I can see meetings that are set up already. So it's pulling information from my Exchange calendars as well. So it isn't just team meetings that are displayed here, but anywhere where I do have a team meeting, so we have this daily catch-up for this particular team, I can come to the meeting and I can join immediately the meeting from here. So and when I do that, it comes into this interface that's really similar to what happens in Skype for Business. And I can do things, so it tells me which of my headphones it's using. I can do a share of my desktop and show people what I'm doing within that session there. So let's just close that call. I'll just wait for it. Just takes a moment to hang the call up. And it just tells me what's going on there. Okay, so and then finally the last option down here is the files. So this is similar to the OneDrive functionality. So remember when I showed you the periodic table, it shows you that quite a lot of things overlap within the Office 365 estate. So this is showing me all the files that I've accessed recently. I might have opened it, edited it, and it's just a quick way of being able to go back. So of course you can go into Word and you can go to your recent files list and see things there. I can go to OneDrive and I can see all of the files that I've accessed recently from there. So it is just another way of being able to get that same information. And then finally, I've got these options here to go into other things. So there's help files. I can add in other apps there. So this secretary bot, we've added that into this Teams application. So there are lots of apps and bots out there to help you, and perhaps you'll see as we go through which things you might use. So it gives you some quick links to things that are helpful. Okay, so we're ready to go and look at what happens within a team now. So I showed you my list of all of my teams before, but I'm going to dive here into my event management team where I've got my February breakfast briefing. So we're setting up a breakfast briefing and working within a team on doing that. And the team is split up into different channels. So we've got the general event management where we do kind of like our normal work, but then for this specific project, we've set up a separate channel. And if I click these little dots at the end of the team name, it shows me that I can just add in another channel within that. So if we go for a March breakfast briefing, then we'd set up a new channel and do that from there. Okay, so the first tab over here on the left-hand side is the Conversations tab, and you can see that as you join a team, you can scroll back and see all of the conversations that have happened previously within a team. And actually, I'm just going to switch over and be someone else. So I'm here as Rob. Okay, we've just asked Rob to come along and join this breakfast briefing team. And I'm gonna, sorry. Okay, so it's in the event management. So I say I've joined the team, and here I've got breakfast briefing, and I can scroll up and see everything that's happened there, and I can see all the same tabs that other people can see as well. Okay, so I can just say okay, so I've just done an @ Megan there, and I can do just make it a little bit more informal, so I don't want to @ Megan Burberry. I want to just say thanks to Megan. Okay, and then if I switch back to being Sarah in the Teams app, you can see that immediately that message has appeared within here. Now I can reply and say, great to have you on board. Okay, and notice that I used the reply option here, and I've got this secondary option here to start a new conversation. So that's one of the things that we usually explain the difference when we're training people, that you don't just start a new conversation every time you want to say something. You want things to be in threads, so you want to see that everything has happened within one space. You can also within starting a conversation, you can add in other things there. And you can add in a subject line. So perhaps if you've got quite a complicated conversation going on, then you might want to make sure that people understand which bit of the conversation they're a part of at the moment. Okay, so that's the conversations feature, and you can see that it's all lovely. It's got all of those options to say, like, I can see that Rob's online at the moment. I can see that Megan's online, so I can really feel that I'm part of this team. Okay. I've got the files option. So these are created automatically when you set up a new team or a new channel, and it's created a folder in a SharePoint document library for this particular channel, and it's got all the goodness that you've got within SharePoint. So you can have content types, you can drag and drop multiple documents, you can access all of the files and folders, you can add metadata to stuff. It's all there. Everything you can do in SharePoint, these are just SharePoint files. They're not Teams files, they're there in SharePoint. So perhaps where Microsoft might have made mistakes in the past when they introduced Yammer and it had its own separate document library feature, they've really thought about integrating it into the Office 365 suite here. And I can do things like I can make a document a tab. So so this attendee list, we find that we're opening this quite frequently. So I'm going to make it a separate tab up at the top here. And then that's going to automatically open that in Excel, and I can see what's going on. And I can open any of these other documents here. So I can open up that PDF right here within Teams, or I can just open those documents in a different, like in a web browser, or if I was opening a Word document, it gives me the options to open it in either the Word desktop application or the Word Online application. So it's giving you loads and loads of functionality there within the files. Okay. The other thing that the team channel creates automatically is a wiki, which is just a really simple way of being able to add in notes about the project or the thing that you're running, and you can separate them out into different pages. So here we've got all of the email text, we've got the planning notes that we created in the first meeting, and then if we've got any additional meeting notes, we're putting those in that page there. So it's just keeping all of that together. You might also use OneNote to do something similar. It does do that with a wiki automatically, but you can, of course, just delete any tabs that are available there that you don't need as you're setting your channel up. Okay. When you create a meeting as part of the team, it automatically adds this meeting notes tab, which again, that might be kind of extra overkill, and you might delete that one. And then I'm going to show you here how we create kind of links into other Office 365 tools. So this is the planner tool. So for those of you that have used this, it's like a to-do. It's kind of a bit like Trello. You can divide things up into different buckets, and you can organise the tasks that need to be done. So we've organised this breakfast briefing. We've kind of got like a general to-do, but then we've got the email invitations, we've got the reminder schedule, we've got the leaflet tasks, the leaflet we're going to hand out, and then we've kind of got general logistical tasks. And you can filter, so you can say, okay, I want to see all the things that are due tomorrow, so I can kind of plan our workload. Oops, let's just go there, so I can see what's going on tomorrow. It's not going to be so busy, and then I can clear that out there. Then I might want to see, okay, what's Megan got on her plate today? Do we need to take some things off her, or has she maybe completed some of those tasks? And if you have completed a task, it is just as easy as coming in here and saying, okay, I'm done, so I'm going to complete this task here, which was overdue from last week. She's done it, but she hadn't come in and updated this. And that's what we would normally do within a sort of a daily meeting, is go through the tasks, who's done what needs to be reprioritised or given into someone else. Just some other options within Planner that are quite helpful. I've got these charts, so I can see what's running late, I can see who's overloaded, and then of course I've got a schedule option, so I can see what's coming up either in the next week or in the next month, so that I can see what's coming up. So here on today, I've got a number of different tasks. We're quite busy today. Okay, so that's Planner. Then I might have things that are not within Office 365. So we're creating a leaflet, we're generating sort of images and things like that. So we're using iStock to drag in good quality images, and we're doing that within Teams. So instead of all the team members having to know what the URL is and what the username and password is, you can drop this into the team tab, and then everybody's got access to that from there. And then I can just use iStock as if it's there, so I don't have to go out into a separate web browser. I've then got a survey. So again, I'm using a different third party, which is the SurveyMonkey tool, and when we sent out the invitations, we asked people what food they wanted to eat, and so they've come in and they've clicked all of these options to choose what they wanted, and then the team members can come in and look at what people have chosen, what proportion, how many people have chosen. So if you send invites out to 50 people and only 10 of them have replied, then you know you need to chase some people, or perhaps you're going to do some guessing and saying, well, loads of people wanted the vegan sausage wrap, so we'll just order more of those and hopefully everybody else will be happy too. Okay, so I'm hoping that has given you a good overview of the different sorts of things that you might put within a team. So, so event management is my overall team, and then I can divide sort of the things that event management team are doing into separate channels. So we think of them as separate projects, but for your business, that might be it might be sub teams within the main overall team. Okay. So just to double check that I went through everything. There was just one last thing. We did some things with some bots. I'm just going to go back here. So I mentioned the bots when I showed you it here in the dot menu. So I've got this thing called Secretary Bot, which can help you to create a meeting with your team members. So if I just go back here, so all you do is, so you talk to the bot as if it is a member of your team. So if I start a new conversation here and go at secretary, it's there in the list there. And then it tells me as I'm going through what I want to do, and I'm saying I want to arrange a meeting with the team for 30 minutes, and I'll just say, there we go, and then the bot will start coming back and saying, oh, okay, what do you want to do? So it's going to ask me to log in, so I'm just going to go back and just see what we did previously. So as I had the conversation, it says, how long do you want it to have for 15 minutes, and the secretary comes back and says, yeah, I'm going to set it up at this time because I can see into everyone's calendars and I can see that everybody can do this particular time. And then everybody goes into their Outlook, accepts it and says, yeah, that's fine. And of course, you can come into your meetings tab here, and that's going to show you all of the things, so you can manage things. You don't have to go back into Outlook. They're all there within your Teams as well, so you can accept and reject your meetings from there. Okay, so there are loads of different bots. There are also bot builders out there, so you can go, if you can think of a thing that you would normally do, so it's like, do you quickly go into a tool like SurveyMonkey to get out particular bits of information? Can you get the SurveyMonkey to do that? So instead of having to go in and interrogate it, you just type in SurveyMonkey, please tell me how many attendees we've got, or how many people chose the vegan wraps. And the bot will come back and tell you that. So it can be a really helpful extra team member for you. Okay, so a final thing is the help options. So there are some really quite helpful things here. So you might want to guide your team members towards these. You might want to use these as a basis for helping your team members to get on board. So maybe you want to kind of adapt some of this information. There's also a really good online demo for Teams, which if you've never used it, you can go through and you can click on it and you can do all the things that we can do there. So we'll include a link to that in our follow-up email after the session. Okay, just switch back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so these are just some screen grabs again of the mobile application, and you can do everything that you can do in the main app. So you can create a meeting, you can have a call using your phone, so you can really feel a part of the team within that. You can access all of those files, you can have conversations, so it really makes it a seamless experience for people. Okay, so just to wrap up with some pros and cons. So for me, the plus side is all about the easy integration with Office 365. So SharePoint Online, it's got all of those amazing things right there within Teams. The Office Planner, the Power BI, so you can pull in dashboards in your tabs. It's all about having everything there within one place, so you're not kind of diving out to Outlook. I didn't talk about how you can invite external people into your teams, but they don't all have to be within your Office 365. Internally within our organisation, we're obviously managing a lot of different client works, client projects, and we generally have two teams, one for an internal conversation about the client, and one for the external conversation where we have the team, the external team from the client involved in that too. So we're really reducing the number of emails, and that really means that we're reducing kind of like when you're onboarding people, bringing people on board, you're not having to send them 15 emails with attachments and worry about whether you've got the right attachments. You just say, I'm inviting you into the team. All the documents are right there in the Files tab. And if you want to catch up with the conversations we've had, you can go back to the beginning and see everything that's happened within this project from day one, all there within the team. So onboarding goes from being a pain to being a 2-minute thing to invite people in. The integration with other systems, so we saw iStock and SurveyMonkey within the demonstration. There are loads of other integrations. We have in our service desk team, they have integration with Zendesk, so we use that as our support portal, and you can create different dashboards, and so it's just really amazing for being able to come in and see without having to go out to the third-party software. It's all there within the team. Microsoft is really focusing its energy on Teams. So if something doesn't work at the moment, then it will probably come in. There's lots of stuff on the Microsoft user voice on it. If you follow the user voice and any of the sort of bulletins and things from Microsoft, you'll see that more and more information is being pulled into Teams, more new features as they're developing them. So that's really, for us, that's a real focus, is because Microsoft are focusing on it. That means that's where they're developing all the new cool stuff. Okay, on the minus side, the cons, I find the single window, so there's no switching between a conversation and like if you have a PowerPoint or an Excel spreadsheet, but you can fix that by opening those things in the Office application and switching between your team windows and Office. There's no online from the desktop, so if your desktop loses its connection to the internet, you kind of lose all your conversation. You can't continue to have an offline conversation. You can't even kind of read what's going on previously. The offline works amazingly in the mobile application, so there is kind of hope that it will come there in the desktop application quite soon, because you can see that it is a bit of a problem that you don't have that. There's no branding. It is purple, so it is very much like Henry Ford. If you have any colour you want, as long as it's black, it is the brand that it is. The only option that you've got for branding is these logos here on the left-hand side of each of your teams. There's no kind of way of personalising it and changing it from that purple colour to your own corporate colours. The conversation management isn't always fantastic. We've discovered that if you delete a conversation but someone else has replied to it, it only deletes your bit. It doesn't release the replies, and you can still see that that thing has been deleted. So it's a little bit like there are lots of different chat applications where you can still see where something has been deleted, and so that can sort of pique people's curiosity. Why did that thing get deleted? And it was just that you sort of said something and then realized that it wasn't relevant in that situation, or maybe you started a new conversation when really you were trying to reply to something. So we're hoping again that the conversation management, we can kind of really start to get into that in a little bit more detail in the future. Okay, so just to finally wrap up, so who should use Teams? We think it's for everyone. You can use it internally and externally in that mix. So it is something that you need to adopt carefully, so you don't just kind of roll it out and leave it. So start small in your organisation, get a team together who are comfortable with the new technology and get them to start and really get them to fact find and set your rules for your teams with a small group. So what can you use it for? Again, pretty much anything. So managing a small team, we can use it for social stuff. We saw it for that whole company-wide stuff. Why you should use it? I mean, I think the primary reason for using it is that it's got everything there in one place, and also that Microsoft are really pushing their weight behind it. Why not? You might not be ready for the cultural change, so you might be comfortable with the tools that you're using at the moment. So Outlook, SharePoint in the web browser, you might become Skype for Business. You might be really comfortable with all those things and you're not ready for another change yet. But think about planning how you could get into a space where you could do that. And then how should you use it? You should absolutely use it in the desktop and the mobile application. If you need to use it in the browser as well, so sometimes if you're coming in as an external into someone else's Teams, then using it in the browser is really helpful for that. Okay, so I'm going to hand back on to Megan just to talk about our free consultancy offer.
Thank you, Sarah. Just very quickly before you all pop off, we're currently offering a free consultancy offer, so definitely take advantage of it. Those of you who need help with Office 365 in your workplace, this would be great for you. Basically what we do is for a couple of hours, we'll come into your office, we'll speak to your team, learn about what you need to use Office 365 for, so this is the understand bit, then explain a little bit about Office 365, how it works, what you can use it for. We'll then explore how you in your workplace could use Office 365, so whether we can replace some of the manual tasks that you do with technology. And then we'll write a little mini report about what we think your next step should be, and that would be it, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Can you do the next slide, Sarah? And then finally, we've got a couple of upcoming events. They're actually related to the website side of our company. So if any of you are thinking about re-platforming your website, please get in touch. We'd love to have you there. We're having an event next month. And a lot of our clients are going to be talking about how they've implemented a very successful website. And then we're doing a webinar in April about Umbraco, which is one of the platforms that we use. And we're going to talk about how great it is. My contact details are on this slide, yeah. So if you want to get in touch about anything, please just write my email down. But I'll circulate some information in the next couple of days, so you can get back to me then. And I think that's it from us, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Megan.
Bye.
Bye.